Clutch is a femme fatale action series ultimately about girls who have to fight back against the mob in various ways that usually involve guns.
Eternus is a supernatural thriller about a team of agents who are tracking a supernatural serial killer, only to find out that he is on a different page than they expected.
Straight Off Gammas is a musical about two sororities at war.
It's called Wimpole Street, and it's a Victorian mockumentary, kind of Downton Abbey meets The Office.
It's about two family guys from Vancouver, one of the most expensive cities out there, trying to make a living doing corporate entertainment. Modern-day court jesters making the well-to-do laugh at conferences and conventions.
The ABCs of Online Dating is a web series that revolves around three roommates, Ava, Bree, and Kara, ABC, who join an online dating website and go on a parade of really bad first dates, and all of the dates are based on true stories from my friends.
Standard Action is a fantasy comedy. We call it the fantasy comedy for geeks of all kinds. It's about four misfit adventurers who find each other and head out on a quest, and there's all sorts of crazy happenings and nerdy humor for sure.
Split is a soap opera dramedy hybrid. It's about Dana Lafferty, and she is going through a divorce from her husband, who's been having shenanigans. And she ends up getting stalked by his mistress, who wants her family all to herself.
Well, Still is a science fiction thriller, and a cross between Walking Dead, Body Snatchers, and a little bit of Twin Peaks. An unknown infection that takes over a small town in the Northwest, and so these group of citizens band together and they try to search for sanctuary.
Threesome is a story of three people, two guys and a girl, and it starts with one of the guys, Rob, and the girl splitting up, and Paul, her ex-fiancé, and his ex-best friend reappearing out of nowhere, and that's the beginning of the story. And then we find out where Paul's come from, what's happened between Rob and Jen, why they're splitting up, and whether or not they can get back together again, and what Paul's big secret is.
Fantasy Hospital is a animated fantasy comedy that takes place in the hospital of a fantasy world. So it's a hospital run by dwarves and giants and fairies and the like.
She is a 15-year-old girl who is realizing her sexuality and all the trials and tribulations that go along with that, and her relationship with her dad / her best friend. And yeah, it's kind of like the ups and downs of what it's like to come out as a teenager and figure out how to navigate high school and life and relationships and all the fun stuff.
The Super Femmes is a fun, stylized web series about superheroines, dastardly villains, colorful plot lines. It has a lot of comic book tropes.
The Actress Diaries is a Vancouver-based comedy. It's a mockumentary. It's based on two aspiring actresses that think that they're the next Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman, and they're clearly not. They're also waitresses as well, so they're not very good at a lot of things.
About a group of adventurers wandered around, and we shoot it like a documentary.
Under the Hood is about two video game characters and basically what happens to them when you're not playing them. And they're total opposites. One's like the hard-ass, like military, wants to be the best soldier. And the other one is, totally opposite, does not want to be in a war, just wants to talk about his feelings and get to know his friends.
Roommate comedy. They're short, sweet, and really, really real. They're really real. If you've ever had a roommate, something in our show will resonate with you. A lot of passive-aggressive behavior, a lot of sex in the next room.
Snoop Riders is a time-traveling science fiction adventure comedy. It's sort of, we like to describe it as like a Galaxy Quest esque version of Doctor Who.
We wanted to kind of showcase the challenges and the interesting aspects about what it's like to be a Boston actor or an actor in New England. And so Brian and I were the two lead actors, and they follow us to auditions. It's in a mockumentary style.
It sort of follows these two people who have had their hearts broken, and they meet at the beginning of this series and sort of try to find their way and figure out whether they can, get over their broken hearts and really connect with each other.
We are a noir soap opera about UFOs. We're called Milgram and the Fastwalkers. Fastwalkers being the term of art for the U.S. Air Force for objects that enter and leave the atmosphere at great speed. Unknown objects, yeah.
Gay Nerds is a comedy about kind of a group of
gay nerds who they fall into various kind of adventures down like Jurassic Park and Batman and zombie movies. Yeah, and it's always kind of like a little bit of a kind of queer edge to it.
So season 1 of Wrecked was about a woman who had messed up her life and was trying to put it back together, and in season 2 she's sort of found a new normal. She's just on the verge of having established a life that she's happy with, and her old life kind of catches up to her, and it all kind of gets thrown into jeopardy.
Fame and Fidelity is a web series about a young Arab Muslim actor who is struggling to make it in Hollywood. He wants to be an actor, he wants to be famous, and it sort of follows like his misfortunes in trying to achieve that.
It's an action murder mystery. 3 witnesses are in a hotel with being watched by 2 cops, and they have to find out who is the hand.
Seeking is real stories that people submitted to me and my writing partner, and it's about dating in New York.
Super Knocked Up is about a supervillain gets knocked up by a superhero, and she has to raise the baby with her nemesis.
Asset is a story about a young man who wins a trip to Prague, where his ex-girlfriend now lives. And he thinks it's just going to be a nice reuniting with her, but it turns out it was all arranged by the CIA, and they just want to get close to her husband, who is an arms dealer.
Family Problems is about a family that buries a body in the woods, and they kind of deal with that. But the way the story is told is in 3 different time zones, kind of time periods.
It's 2 best friends in their 30s that are just trying to navigate the LA dating waters, and it's like a sea of Mr. Wrongs, and they're just trying to find their Mr. Right.
After 2 dysfunctional sisters find out that their father died, they start investigating his death and realize that he was involved in a corrupted mental institution.
It's a modern take on the idea of angels and demons, yet it's almost anthology-like, but you're gonna basically see kind of angels and demons maybe differently than you've seen before in other shows.
It's an improvised comedy web series filmed in New York City. We play exaggerated versions of ourselves, sort of in the same style as Curb Your Enthusiasm.
The Louise Log is a comedy series about a New York City woman who happens to also be a wife and mother who's got a family of like total crackpots and an overactive inner voice.
Kidstown's about Brian Russell, who's the new kid in town, and we follow him and his dad. So we have the 2 storylines, which are the kids' storylines and the parent storylines, and we get to see when they mix, and you actually get to see that the kids actually have influence over their parents every now and then.
Cap South is a political satire spoof based in Washington, D.C., shot on location in Washington, D.C. If you want to pitch it, it's kind of like a West Wing meets The Office, or House of Cards meets Workaholics.
Lungs is about a girl played by Kimberly May. She plays Grace, who goes to this trail, and it's a trail that people walk from Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode Island, all the way to Manhattan, New York. And people on the trail are kind of finding themselves. It's like kind of a meditation trail. And she meets people on the trail that are also dealing with other problems.
It's a show about an agent, a top Hollywood agent who is very successful but very unhappy, and he inadvertently goes into a psychic shop, and she sits him down and tells him that he's going to die of cancer unless he immediately quits being an agent and becomes a manager. But the catch is that he can only be a manager for the misfits, people that nobody else will hire.
It's a story about 3 women leading their misguided lives in the city.
I'm one of the misguided women.
Chopsaki Boom is a misfit comedy about misfit Seattle actors cast in the action kung fu show Final Zodiac Warrior.
Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, stay
Super Geeked Up.